Sakhalin Island by Anton Chekhov. 2. On the night of the 5th of May, I am being driven out of the sizable village of Abatskoye, 375 versts from Tumen, by an elderly man about 60 years old. Shortly before harnessing the horses, he had a good steaming in the village bathhouses and applied cupping glasses to himself. What were the cupping glasses for? He tells me he had an ache in the small of his back. He is unusually perky for his age, and is spry and voluble, but he walks with difficulty. Apparently, he has dorsal tabes. I am sitting in a tarantas, pulled by a pair of horses. The old man swings his whips and shouts, although he no longer bellows as he did previously, but simply groans and moans like an Egyptian dove. Along the margins of the roads and far off on the horizon, serpent-shaped fires are blazing. This is last year's grass, which they set fire to intentionally here. It is damp and does not easily yield to the flames, and so the fiery serpents crawl along slowly, now spitting off into patches, now dying away, and then flaring up afresh. The fires throw out showers of sparks, and over each of them hangs a white cloud of smoke. It's a beautiful sight when a fire suddenly seizes some tall grass. A column of flame is a sazon, high rises above the ground, casting towards the heavens a large puff of smoke, and instantly collapsing, as if wishing the earth would open and swallow it up. It is still more beautiful when the little snakes of flame worm their way through a birch wood. The entire forest is lit up from end to end, the white bowls distinctly visible, while the shadows of the birch trees are iridescent with speckles. Illuminations such as these are just a little scary. Straight towards us, at full tilt, thundering over the hummocks, is heading a mail troika. The old man hastily swings to the right, and instantly there flashes past us the enormous and weighty mail troika, in which the driver for the return journey is sitting. But suddenly, a new din resounds. Straight toward us, another mail troika is heading, also at top speed. We hurriedly swing to the right, but, to my huge perplexity and terror, the troika swings, for some reason, not to the right, but to the left, and flies straight at us. And what if we collide? Hardly have I had time to put that question to myself, when a crashing sound rings out, and our pair of horses and the mail troika are mixed together in one dark pile. The tarantas is rearing up on end, and I am plunging to the ground, with my cases and bundles on top of me. While I am lying thoroughly shaken up on the ground, I hear a third troika making towards us. Well, I think, this one'll finish me off for sure. But thank God, I have not broken anything, am not seriously hurt, and can stand up. I leap up, rush aside, and bellow at the top of my voice. Stop! Stop! From the bottom of the empty postcart, a figure arises and grasps the reins, and the third troika comes to a halt almost on top of my belongings. A couple of minutes pass in silence. There is a kind of dull bewilderment, as none of us can understand what has happened. The shafts are smashed. The harness is snapped. The shaft bow from which the bells hung is lying on the earth, and the horses are breathing heavily. The old man, sighing and groaning, gets up off the ground. The first two troikas have come back, and a fourth troika is approaching now, and a fifth. Then commences the most ferocious abuse. "Pox take you!" screams the coachman, who had collided with us. "Pox pustules in your gob! Where were you keeping your eyes, you old dog?" "And just whose fault was it?" shouts the old man whiningly. "You're the one to blame, yet you're the one who's coming out with all this bad language." As far as can be understood through the swearing, the cause of the collision was as follows. 5 troikas had been heading back to Abatskoye, bringing the mails. By law, returning troikas must go at a walking pace, but the leading coachman, growing bored and wanting to get into the warmth quicker, had driven his horses at full lick, while in the following 4 the drivers had fallen asleep, and there was nobody to guide the horses. The remaining 4 had raced off at full pelt after the first one. If I had been sleeping in my tarantas, or if the third troika had been tearing along the very heels of the second, then, of course, things would have not worked out so fortunately for me. The drivers were abusing each other at the tops of their voices, so that they must have been heard 10 versts away. They swore intolerably. How much wit Malice and mental impurity is expended in concocting these vile words and phrases, which have as their purpose the defiling and profaning of everything that a man holds holy, dear, and worthy of love. Only Siberian coachmen and ferrymen know how to curse this way, and it is said they have learnt this from the prisoners being led into exile. The loudest and most vicious abuser of all the coachmen was the one who was to blame. "Stop this swearing, you blithering idiot," the old man defends himself. "And what if I don't?" asked the guilty coachman, a youngster of 19 or so, approaching the old man with a threatening look and standing eyeball to eyeball with him. "What if I don't?" "You're not such a clever lad as you think you are." "And what if I don't? You just answer me. What'll happen then? I'll get a hold of a bit of that there smashed up shaft and smash you up with it, you pox-pustule." Judging from the tone of the voices, there is going to be a melee. In the night, just before daybreak, in the middle of this wild cursing bunch of savages, in sight of conflagrations near and far devouring the grass, but not warming the chilly night air one iota, beside these restive and agitated horses, which have huddled together in a bunch of neighing, I feel a kind of isolation and loneliness it is difficult to describe. The old man, grumbling and lifting his feet up high from his illness, paces around the Tarantos and horses and unfastens, where he possibly can, cords and thongs so as to bind the snapped shaft. Then, lighting match after match, crawls along the roadway on his belly, searching for the trace. Even my baggage straps are utilized. Dawn is already breaking in the east. The wild geese have been awake and honking for ages already. The coach drivers have gone at last, and we are still standing in the road carrying out repairs. We are on the point of starting off again, but from the fastened shaft, crack, and we have to stop again, and it's cold. Somehow, we struggle at a walking pace to a village. We halt by a 2-story log cabin. "Ilya Ivanitch, are there any horses here?" "Yes, there are," somebody responds hoarsely from behind a window. In the cabin I encounter a tall fellow in a red shirt, barefoot, sleepy, and for some reason smiling drowsily. "We've beaten the bugs, matey," he says, scratching and smiling still more broadly. "We purposely didn't heat the bedchamber up. When it's cold they don't walk. Here bugs and cockroaches do not crawl, they walk. Travelers do not travel, but run. They ask, 'Where you running, your honor?' This means, 'Where are you traveling to?'" While they are greasing the sledge and jingling its bells, and while Ilya Ivanitch, who will be my driver, is dressing, I seek out a comfortable spot, lay my head on a sack of something or other, gain probably, and instantly overcome by a deep sleep. Right away, I start dreaming of my own bed, my room, and I dream that I am sitting in my own house, at the table, and recounting to my family and friends how my coach and pair collided with a mail troika. But 2 or 3 minutes passed, and I hear Ilya Ivanitch tugging at my sleeve, and saying, "Up, mate, horses are ready." What banter there is over my laziness, over my aversion to the cold, which snakes up and down my spine, and the length and breadth of my body. We're off again. Light already, and the sky glows golden just before sunrise. The road, the grass, and the fields, and the forlorn young birch trees are covered with hoarfrost, as if they have been sprinkled with sugar. Somewhere woodcocks are calling.